Hey guys, the Fire Brothers here. It's just me, my brother couldn't be here today because I actually have nothing funny to say. Well, I'm a little sick, and because of that I couldn't work on the Shatter video. And the face reveal is also out of the question while I'm sick. And to make it worse, I have tests, exams, projects this week, so I probably won't be able to do the Shatter video until the end of the week. We'll have to wait and see. So I actually couldn't work on a video this since I last uploaded the Cliffjumper video. And to not leave you guys without anything, I'm doing a follow-up video, like a part 2 to it. But this time in defense of Michael Bay, everyone's favorite director. Now, in my last video, there were plenty of people in the comments saying that, everyone hates Michael Bay, that sometimes it's unjustified, and I think a lot of those people didn't watch until the end of the video where I clearly mentioned that Michael Bay is the primary cause for killing Cliffjumper, but he's not the sole reason for it. Like, Travis Knight and Hasbro are also to blame. And in this video, I decided to do something a bit different. We all like to hate on Michael Bay, or at least make fun of him. Like, it's a running gag on my channel, but Michael Bay has actually done plenty of good stuff for the franchise, believe it or not. For example, Transformers was a relatively niche thing back in the day, like G1, Beast Wars, the Unicron trilogy. These were all great shows, but they were not like on the level, let's say like something like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, that's like pop culture, that's like so ingrained into modern culture, Anyways, thanks to Michael Bay, the movies, more specifically the first, second, and third one, the fourth one and fifth one kinda messed things up, but the first three movies basically skyrocketed Transformers from a relatively niche franchise onto being a cultural juggernaut. The movies made tons, and I mean tons of money. And that's also not to factor any of the video games or toys that Hasbro managed to sell from the movies. The movies are basically a big advertisement, so Hasbro basically made bank through the movies, the toys, the games, and a lot of other products they made. Now, of course, that doesn't really mean the movies were any good. I still think that Transformers 2007 and Dark of the Moon are by far the best Transformers movies we ever had. I guess Age of Extinction is fine. The Last Night and Dark of the Moon will probably be my two least favorites. But yeah, you can also make the argument that while, the popularity that the movies gained from Michael Bay was, beneficial, at the same time it was a double-edged sword because the movies kinda gained a notoriety for being bad movies. And when you ask people about a Transformers movie, they're gonna say, oh, it's bad, but they don't really know why. They just heard from some other guy that it's bad and therefore they're not gonna watch it. And those who did watch the movies do know that they have some flaws. But when you go watch a Transformers movie, you don't really watch it for the storytelling or the action. Well, at least you didn't used to do that before Travis Knight came along and changed things up for the better. And if you guys want to take that a step further, recently I've been watching tons of Transformers The Basics, and something that I realized is that Michael Bay had a huge, and I mean huge, impact on the modern franchise. For example, concepts such as the 13 Prime, Sentinel Prime, the Allspark, the Matrix, things like that were things that were, prevalent throughout the Transformers canon before the movies. But the movies kinda brought those concepts into the mainstream, and then Hasbro started to organize and, establish, okay, which concepts do we use and which ones do we get rid of. I recommend watching Chris McFeely's Transformers The Basics of the 13 Primes. Like, that will explain what I'm trying to say here very well. Because of Michael Bay, the 13 Primes are kind of a thing that's now an actual thing in the Transformers lore. And if you keep watching more Transformers The Basics, you do get the sense that Transformers as a franchise was very disorganized until Michael Bay came along. And what I mean by that is that G1, Beast Wars, Beast Machine, Robots in Disguise, the Unicron trilogy, the canon, like things that remain consistent, were very loose. Like sometimes, let's say, there will be Beast Transformers in one continuity and another one there wouldn't be any. In one continuity, let's say like the Matrix will be a thing, and in another one the Matrix will be absent or whatever. I'm just throwing some random examples in there. The movies came along and they established the Matrix, the 13 Primes, the Autobots, the Decepticons to the mainstream audience. And because of that, many of those concepts came to the limelight. Like Bumblebee was somewhat a popular character before the Michael Bay movies, but the Michael Bay movies basically made Bumblebee the face of the franchise. Not Optimus, not Megatron, not Grimlock, Bumblebee became the face of the franchise. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's up to you to decide. And because of all the things that were added into the movies, the things that we saw, Hasbro was forced to reorganize themselves. Like, they're like, okay, listen, we can no longer do a Transformers show, then cancel that continuity, then move to another one, do something completely different. We have to keep some level of consistency here. And now, modernly, when we see Transformers shows like Transformers Prime, Cyberverse, the Align continuity, and so on, there is a level of continuity that's present. That's not to say that all the things I mentioned are connected, but that's to say that there are certain concepts that carry on from one continuity to another. It's no longer like the old days of G1, Beast Wars, and the shows that came after it, before the movies. Now there's a certain level of consistency between each, modern Transformers continuity. There's the War from Cybertron, the Exodus to Earth, the Allspark, the Matrix, certain characters from the movies now being more prevalent, and so on. If it wasn't for Michael Bay, characters like Bumblebee, Ironhide, Barricade would probably never gain that level of popularity that they have nowadays. But of course, the movies also brought plenty of negatives, with, for example, like the movies being perceived as very, very bad, and that mindset turning people off from future Transformers movies. The Travis Knight movie was a good step in the right direction, but we just have to wait and see whether the infamy of the previous Michael Bay movies will not, hamper the future of the new Transformers movies. That remains to be seen. And of course, you can't forget some of the Decepticon and Autobot designs that were, questionable. Devastator with balls, the Age of Extinction Autobots being really humanoid for no reason, Optimus Prime be turning into a knight. Even though I think that concept is kinda interesting, they didn't really develop that. Like, they didn't went in depth about it, and they really should have. And then we had the villains from the Transformers movies. Well, I would argue that in the first movie, Megatron was a really good, intimidating villain. In Revenge of the Fallen kind of just shows up and dies. Dark of the Moon, Sentinel Prime was pretty underdeveloped. Like, we don't really get why he's helping we know why he's helping Megatron, but it kinda just comes out of nowhere, and we're not given a lot of insight into what's going on in his head. Lockdown was by far probably one of my favorite villains in the movies, but when you get down to it, we don't really know much about him. And Quintessa was pretty bland. Like I said, not everything he did was good, not everything he did was bad. Overall, I think he helped the franchise more than he hurt it. Don't get me wrong, he hurt the franchise pretty bad by, making the movies infamous in the public eye. But at the same time, thanks to him, Hasbro made money from the movies, and the movies became a pop culture staple. Like, nowadays, you'll be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't know what Transformers is. But do you guys believe that Michael Bay did more good than bad? Do you guys think that the level of infamy the movies gained was a good thing or a bad thing? What are your thoughts on the movies shaping Transformers concepts such as the 13 Prime, the Allspark, the Matrix, and how some characters behave and are represented? What I mean by this, I mean things like Bumblebee having, no mouth in the movies, and that causing a lot of future Bumblebee incarnations to not have a mouth or talk at all. Like, I just want to know all about it in the comments down below. Anyways guys, that's it for this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay safe guys. Next video hopefully will be the Shatter one, so stay tuned for that.